Lyndan Jones. She, her. Yeah, I moved here in 2017 when I came to Western. And then after I graduated in 2021, I moved to Sylva. So I live in Sylva now. Yeah, so I was raised half Southern Baptist, half atheist, which is a really fun combination. And so I had very differing views about like the world and what was good and what was right. And I also had 3 little brothers. So I think it's funny that like as a queer woman, all those masculine things I really wanted to do, like my gender was so affirmed without me even having those words. I identify as a woman. I feel very strongly to like the feminine divine power, but I also feel that our expression of gender is kind of separate just to how we identify. My expression of gender is very gender fluid. I like to dress very feminine and very masculine. And so there's days you catch me like in work boots and shorts and I'm like mowing a lawn. And then there's days when I'm like in a dress with sparkles, and like that entire spectrum makes me super comfortable. Yeah, so religion as a whole, we never practiced like in a church, right? It was very much my mom being like, honey, Jesus told us not to steal and Jesus told us not to cheat, and these are things you should listen to. This is good stuff Jesus said. I'm like, Mom, you're right. Like this Jesus guy like seems really cool. Like he had like long hair. He was hanging out with everybody. 12 men following him around. He sounds like a queer dude to me. And then I had my dad who was like, hey, there is no higher power. You're in this for yourself. Like you got to make your life happen. And so I think it was cool to like have faith in like these like morals and rules, but also the freedom that my dad gave us that was just kind of like, girl, whatever. We're all just on a floating rock. Nothing makes sense. And so I pull from atheism and from Southern Baptism all the time because every single religion I've ever been exposed to is right to some degree, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like they have like these really cool morals and similarities, and like it's focused on community and having faith in the process and seeing the bigger picture. And so I feel like now I would say I'm a very spiritual person.
Okay.
And all of those things influence that. Sylva is a magical place, and I think everyone who lives there kind of shares that sentiment, but there's like this magnetic frequency of just like diversity and difference that I feel in this place where people are really able to come as who they are. So there's not the need to cover parts of us or only show half or code switch in these different situations. Yeah, so running the radio station, like I was the manager of WWCU-FM for 3 years, and we went from 90.5, which was like a classic rock station, and we transitioned over to 95.3, which that's a gay joke right there. Even my radio station transition. But I loved the classic rock vibe. Like it was so much fun, and the diversity of shows that we had like was so telling. I would say through a queer lens, there was a lot of censorship in a way that I didn't really expect. Like I had a show called Queer Talk, and Queer Talk had to come on from 10 to midnight because it had to be after like daytime hours. Like it had to be like night hours because like what if someone hears the gay people talking on the radio? And so that was kind of my first interaction with like, wow, y'all really think this is like scary nighttime,
for sure,
like devil adjacent type stuff. Okay, so I graduated in 2021, and I got a bachelor in communication and a bachelor in Spanish, right? So I was like, I'm going to get a job.
Wow.
Easy. This is going to be great. Well, there were a few jobs that I applied to that literally cited my presentation as the reason I didn't get the job. And, you know, at first I was like, what? And then I was like, you know what? Thank you. Like, actually, thank you so much for telling me before I even get into this environment that I'm qualified for it, that I'm educated, this job that I can do. But if everyone around me would have been like uncomfortable because I'm like a short-haired, loud lesbian.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. So I think at first it seemed like scary, but now I'm really appreciative. And like I used to not hide that I was queer, but I wouldn't mention it, right? Like it wasn't like on the forefront of anything. It was just something within me. But if you think about how heterosexual people, their families are in their offices, their kids are on their Facebook page. You know, it's like heterosexual people get that heteronormative privilege to where like that is part of who you are. But when you're queer, you're like kind of expected to hush that. And I really see that changing in the near future. So like now my LinkedIn is literally a photo of me in Sylva Pride. Like, girl, like if you look at my LinkedIn, I want you to know like I'm in the Rainbow Mafia and I ain't playing. So it's like, I'm glad that these people that, you know, openly say I don't want to hire a queer person. Like I'm actually grateful for that. Yeah, so my best friend is a trans woman, and she started doing drag 6 years ago, and I was her roommate 3 years ago. And so when she would have shows, I would work them, right? So I would like help the queens put on wigs, outfit changes, carrying props, or like in the middle of your show, if you need a setup or like a prop, I would run that. And now I'm a stage kitten, and a stage kitten picks up the dollar bills that the queens throw. And like if you do a wig reveal or like you drop a shoe, that's your little kitten. There's just a person there to pick it up for you. Yeah. And so I love drag. It is like the people that come to drag, I'm talking about like old people, young people, everybody in the middle. It's so fun, high energy, loving. It's like, I think drag shows are up there with like gay weddings. Like that's how much like love and positivity are there. So all credit goes to Beulah Lands, my best friend, for getting me into the drag scene. It is a common narrative that drag is a way for us to put on this character and persona that allows us to feel like so safe and affirmed and powerful. It's like when you put on those clothes that just make you feel like a queen, like a princess, like you are living your best life. And so to see these moments, like that is why I love drag. The Episcopal Church in downtown Sylva literally threw a Pride Mass the week of Pride, and it was like an all-queer service, and a lot of people that have been out of the church for a really long time came to this, and it was like heavy. Like, you know, seeing people, especially like myself and my best friend who we identify so much as Southern Baptists. Yeah. And, you know, to kind of not be welcomed in that space where we're from, to be like re-welcomed into a church was almost like hard. Yeah. Like people was corrupt. Like, girl, the spirit was in the room. People, you know, they're like, I knew that I wanted to be a fireman my whole life, and like I respect that. Yeah. That is so not my journey. I mean, I came to Western to do color guard and study nutrition, and I did not do either one of those things. Like not even once, not even for 5 minutes. It's like we make these decisions based on how we feel and how we identify. That leads us to actually where we need to be to find out how we actually identify. Yeah. So the most insane life changes have happened to me in the past 2 years because I'm actually figuring out who I am, not who like I was projected to be or who I could be, but like who I am. Like not this goal I'm working towards or this degree I'm working towards. Like I just am a person existing, living, learning about myself all the time. And now I'm like, wow, I'm a website designer, house cleaner, barista. I want to be a comedian and a seamstress and a voice narrator and a voice actress and a radio host. And all of that is totally valid.